gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Tuesday League. I'm Aaron, better known on Board Game Arena as webberaj, and I'm happy to be hosting the Premier League of TMTL this evening. I'm also joined by, in studio, can I say that? I'm joined in studio by Deranged. Welcome, Deranged, and thanks for doing this with me. Deranged?
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we can get right into the game. We've got really exciting game tonight. Nerdcube, Deep Finesse, Rafa, and Jekyll, and they're just on standby at the table. So I'm just going to jump over to the game board. I can let them know to start things up, and then we can go from there. Oh, awesome! They must have been keeping an eye on the stream because I just started the game up. There you go. Cool. Awesome. Deranged, do you want to tackle the setup a little bit for us and let us know what you're seeing here, what you think might be good?
Yeah, so the first thing that we see is that we are on the base map. So, we went away from that last week, but we've got round 1 spades and round 6 towns. Round 6 towns always seems to indicate like a pretty high scoring type of game that really rewards you for like putting together your dwellings and building a big economy. The pass tiles, we see the big, like in terms of scoring pass tiles, what we see is we see the big building tile and the trading post tile. That's actually not quite as high scoring. So there's kind of an interesting push and pull between those two in terms of like determining how high scoring this track will be. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying here. That like we're seeing lots of like a really fun track to exploit points off of. There's definitely some interesting stuff there, but yeah, definitely missing a couple key pass tiles there. Ship VP and dwelling scoring are probably two of the most favored like points pass tiles in the game. If you want to think of it like that, like the trading post pass tile is kind of like a lot of factions are okay without it. Big building can be good for some factions, not as great for others, but ship VP and dwelling are generally very high scoring pass tiles to have in the game, and so missing both of them does definitely change the texture of things. But one of the things I always like to do is like try to look at what pass tiles are in and like what's going to flow up to seat 1, like how these pass tiles are going to break down. We do see that this is a setup where there are 4 like quote unquote good starting pass tiles if you include temp ship. Someone can grab temp ship, someone else can go big building. It might mean that you could see a priest going up to first seat, which could be really helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, Mr. Fickles very often brings this up, but the 4 coins and a cult step is also quite a nice tile to get on in round 1. It lets you like hit those 4 spots if you get that first priest, etc.
Totally.
Like in this game, I don't think that that'll be an issue because we have mermaids in the first seat, so mermaids will be very happy to take like a priest or temp ship or whatever. So I think that we're less likely to see the 4 coins and cult step get taken.
Yeah.
But sometimes that can be a big consideration.
Yeah, I think so too. I think like, and then you'll have both those coins pass tiles that will each have an extra bonus coin on them that like the first and second people to pass will be usually pretty happy to then pass on to a bunch of coins going into round 2. So I can see them both being probably left there. Right away, we see the first bid.
In the meantime, we do have our...
Go ahead, Deranged.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, like, we do have our 4 factions selected. This is kind of a cool color wheel.
Totally. I was going to ask you what your thoughts were now that we've seen the 4 factions that are here and we know the seed order and can sort of guess a little bit how the pass tiles are going to break down. Yeah, walk us through the auction a bit. What do you like? What do you not like about each of these factions?
I mean, well, the early action is on mermaids, and I think that that instinct is correct. We can see that Nerdcube has taken, by the way, very, very little time to make his first two actions. He like snap nominated mermaids, and he also just snap bid on them. I think that that's actually a pretty good read because mermaids are like the single faction that probably has the easiest time making 3 towns as part of their normal game plan.
Totally.
With this, and on top of that, there's like mermaids are highly likely to get the double spade in round 1 unless 2 of their opponents take
Right.
the power tiles. I guess it is possible that halflings could take the worker power tile and Orin could take the temp ship. That's kind of likely. That means that mermaids might not get the double dig in round 1.
And
But I mean, they have like there's two water cult rewards this game, including one of them early. So I think that that's great for mermaids.
And just for those of you who are joining us and might be a bit newer to the game, if I can just sort of speak a little bit to what Deranged is referring to, the sort of double spade breaking down, is that 2 of these factions, mermaids and halflings, both start with more power in Bowl 1. So their starting power is 9-3-0 as opposed to the traditional 5-7-0. So it just means mermaids, all they need is to get one of these power tiles in first seat. Like they need to be able to take that as their bonus, and they get double dig. And I think, Deranged, what you were sort of saying is it's not likely, but it's possible that halflings could take worker power, and Orin might take temp ship. Thus, mermaids couldn't open with the double spade, and it could go down to halflings. Is that sort of your read on that?
Yeah, that's how I'm reading it. Like halflings would definitely love the double spade here. Now that said, I think that there could be like a little bit of awkwardness here where nomads could choose to crowd halflings in such a way that they can't safely place their double spade.
Right.
I don't know how much that's going to play into it.
Right.
Because I'm thinking like E6
Yep.
and F5 are like
Yep.
very traditional halfling starting spots. But nomads almost certainly are going to be on F3, but they could choose to play on G4 as well.
Sure.
And that would cause some issues.
Right. Absolutely. I never really thought about that, but usually on base map you see that play out with black and brown, or like with a brown faction and darklings being crowded. You can't take the double dig as cultists or halflings because you're leaving a brown open for your black faction to dig on. But this is an interesting point you bring up, that if I mean, nomads are going to go D3, F3 here. We all know that. But where's that third dwelling going? Yeah, if they go on G4, then brown's running into that same sort of issue of not being able to safely take a double spade, which is quite interesting.
Speaking of which, where do you see nomads placing their third dwelling here? Where do you think would be sensible?
I think I might be tempted to probably go B4 here. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm always a little bit bad with Nomad's third dwelling and never know entirely what to do with it. But one thing I look for with Nomads is like, is this a game that I want to get my stronghold out? The big building pass tiles in, there's a big building event in round 4, and there's a town event in round 6. So Nomads probably get a stronghold out, probably in round 4. They want to do some sandstorming, they want to carve out a third town. Having a dwelling on B4 to be able to sandstorm or even double dig B5 is really nice. Orin are apt to be up there and be your neighbor. It also, so you'll have adjacency on 2 hexes. It also knocks out a classic green town. So yeah, so B4 I think is where I would go here. Probably. I don't really see anything else other than it would either be between B4 or just E8 to pick up a little extra leech as mermaids and Orins develop slightly in the center.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. We do see that without black in the game. I think that B2 might be accessible for nomads as soon as they get onto like the temp ship tile, so they can try to carve their town up there.
I see.
They don't necessarily need to like place on A5 or whatever in order to carve that town.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They're not fighting black to get onto B2. Yeah, so Nomads has town options. Like, the center town is always going to be kind of icky for them. You might see the classic F3, G2, and then bridge down to like H4 or I6 and Sandstorm kind of thing. Like that's a town that people sometimes try to put together. But you might also just see like a Western Sanctuary town next to Mermaids and something in the north. I don't know. Are you seeing 3 towns here for Nomads? Is that sort of the game plan, that they will try to get a Sandstorm or a Stronghold out in 4 and try to chew through some of these more expensive hexes and bridge up and stuff so they can get that third town in the center-south area?
the center south, I think, is one that you don't force in this game. I think that if
Uh-huh.
it remains open to you, then you take it. But like realistically, mermaids love getting to three ship and then taking like H4, right? And then
Right.
Orin temp ship is in the game. If Orin decides to play remotely networky and like has Earth One and stuff, then they're likely to take I6, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when are you
yeah,
getting down to when are you shipping down to I7 to Sandstorm either H4 or I6? It's not clear.
yeah. No.
No, I mean, it is a round six towns game, so like, like I think that a lot of popular play for nomads these days, like especially like the way that Nerdcube would play them, is to is to ship pretty aggressively. But this
Yeah.
game is one of like the 30% of games or so that don't have that ship VP tile in it, and instead they encourage you to cluster your dwellings together at the end. So
Right.
in that sense, we might not see like an aggressive shipping strategy from nomads this game.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. What are your thoughts on the bid so far? So like Deep Finesse has just jumped over to Halfling. So Deep Finesse is saying he prefers Halflings here over Orin, and I should specify to viewers like landscapes are on here, so that does matter. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this current evaluation?
I think that Halfling's game is going to, I was talking before about Nomads on Q4, right? I think that Halflings can definitely be justified at this price, but if so, I think that you're really hoping to be able to double spade kind of safely, right? Um,
Yes.
and I think that Halflings like, I mean, Deep Finesse is always, quicker to go into Halflings than some other people are because like, I guess Halflings don't always have like a very obvious strength um, compared to others. If there's no round four digs, it's not like they have like a huge advantage over the others other than just like being brown, right?
Right.
And like they can score like some easier points. Um, there's not like a ton that's going specifically for halflings this game. I don't think that they're going to necessarily contest network very strongly with both nomads and mermaids in the game. But because of their ability to get advanced digs and because it's a fairly worker rich game,
Mm-hmm.
they should have like a pretty they should have a better time than some other factions trying to carve out three towns. Like, like halflings should be able to get three towns more easily than or nomads this game if nomads don't open with a stronghold. So like
Right.
that's like a very good scoring opportunity for them.
Right. So here's another question I have is, and this speaks to being able to properly evaluate these factions, is how in the heck are these spades breaking? So like we've talked about like halflings getting worker power, and then maybe Orin gets temp ship. I guess that would mean nomads take the priest or the workers or something. Um, halflings then would get double dig in that scenario, and then you might see mermaids opening with a single spade, right? Is that a possibility? Or if
Yeah.
if a three power tile makes it up to mermaids, then are mermaids opening with double dig? Orin are taking single spade first action, and halflings are getting spade blocked.
So this is pretty unexpected in my opinion. The auction is over.
Yes.
Um, like Orin being as good as halflings, only 3 points worse than mermaids is a pretty surprising read to me because right now, like we may be seeing what C4 Orin, right? Um, that's kind of a typical thing to see
Yeah.
in these green versus blue matchups. And um, I mean, Orin could like if Jekyll is as mermaids is unable to secure one of the three power tiles, and that's because Orin is sitting on C4 with temp shift. That means that in order to defend C3 and like protect the town location, she would need to take like a very inefficient single spade as the first action onto C3, right? Like otherwise, Orin can just build there on their first action, and that would be pretty terrible for mermaids.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've certainly seen mermaids players open with single spade, but I was initially expecting the sort of F2 single spade, where it's a single spade, but at least you're getting two dwellings out of it. But yeah, a single spade that only gives you one extra dwelling for mermaids in round one seems pretty underwhelming. Um,
Yeah, and I guess Nerdcube probably was realizing that, and that's very likely why the action went away from mermaids here. I mean, mermaids still have like a fine game, even if they kind of strand D5, right? Like they're going to have two towns very easily in the west, thanks to that beautiful synergy between yellow and blue, right? Like all they
right.
need to do is get onto C1, and then like that's a very natural town up there. along with the town that's already like kind of in the center west there.
Yeah. We do see nomads taking the workers. I think Jack. I don't know if I think Jekyll's taking the priest here. I don't really know. I think she's opening with single spade on c3. I think nomads are opening stronghold, and I think deep finesse just got handed the world because a 3-power tile didn't make it up to first seat for mermaids to take double dig. So halflings get to take double dig, and they get to do it on worker power, and nomads didn't start on g4. So I think deep finesse just opens temple 4 dwellings here. Or sorry, temple 3 dwellings here. And I think this is all breaking very well for deep finesse.
I mean, agreed. I mean, the double spade is going to go on probably e5, g5, right?
100%.
And then he'll build immediately on e5, make a temple for, it could be earth 1, earth 2, or fire 2.
Fire 1, yep.
It could also be air 2. I'm not sure if that's great. However, there are air workers in this game, and it is a game where he. Wow, that's ugly.
It's very ugly. But I think I think you have to do this. I think
he might have to do that. Yeah. I'm interested to see how I mean this obviously badly hurts Nerdcube, right? Nerdcube is now spade blocked out of round 1. C4 is not like a very good hex for getting leech, and like leech is one of the things that you really want in round 1.
Right.
Nerdcube does immediately go for the priestess compensation. I think that's very nice compensation to go 2-ship in round 1. So it's going to be like trading post and build out 4 dwellings.
So I was just about to ask you if that's what you think is going to happen here, or is it that he just builds a temple, sends a priest to Earth, and gets out another dwelling? Like, is he sending that priest to Earth, or do you think he's upgrading ship and then ending round 1 without a temple?
Oh, I'm almost like, I think that this probably is more likely to be increasing ship, and reaching and building out a bunch of dwellings. But I guess for now, with this TP upgrade, like the option is being left open.
Yeah.
Like Orin obviously want to play culty, but it's not really clear what favor tile would do them a ton of good here, right? Like Earth 1 is a little underwhelming when Orin are already kind of economically impaired. They're almost certainly not opening a stronghold. The chat is, by the way, is asking that my volume be raised again.
Done. You just went up 40%. Let me know if that's a good tick. Any way to bump out Barnawal from chat? Deranged probably can because you're a mod here, but I don't know how to do that stuff. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Deranged. We were talking about just before we adjusted levels.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that like getting a lot of worker econ for Orin by spreading out is really nice here, but it is true that like, if they don't get a priest and get some priest production, then they could be losing out on a lot of like nice water and air rewards.
Yep. I think this is a temple and it's a priest to Earth, and I don't actually hate Earth 1 here for Orin. Comes with a coin and 2 power going up Earth. I don't know. It's not very. Maybe it's Earth 2 actually. A less like a more underwhelming opening with only getting 1 dwelling down. Maybe this is just a temple for Earth 1 and a priest to Earth. But if we can just pivot quickly.
I mean, it's a moment of truth right now.
We just saw Raph build a second trading post. Is this a double temple nomads opening? Does he know he's playing nomads and not he's playing nomads and not fakirs?
I think double temple nomads has quite a bit of play in games where there's the ship tile in the game, right? Oh yeah, so it is shipping for Orin.
Okay.
So they are going to build out a bunch of dwellings as opposed to making a temple here. It's possible that Nerdcube could. Oh no, Nerdcube no longer has the coins to build a temple, even if he gets the workers action here. So yeah, it's going to be a semi-dwelling rush for Orin with no spades. But yeah, like I think that this is likely to be temple for Earth 2 or Fire 1, and because nomads uniquely have that third dwelling natively, they're able to handle this type of economic investment a little easier than other factions are. The trouble for nomads would be, that they're going to, like, what are all those priests doing this game, I guess, right? Like, the cult rewards are on water and air, and they're really nice cult rewards, but they're not really, like, nomads cults, right? Um, and as I was saying, like, there's not a lot of rewards for a lot of shipping this game, because the ship VP tile's not in. So I'm curious to see how this plays out, the two temples. I'm just assuming here that we're going to see like a coins action and a temple for Earth 2 at this point.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile, we're probably going to see Jekyll pass first here. She's going to be able to get some coins. Those are like it's either coins or the TP, but almost certainly it's going to be one of the coins tiles. I would anticipate it being the coins and cult step tile, because that would let Jekyll send a priest to water and then be able to get 2 water spades at the end of round 2.
Right.
Meanwhile, Jekyll has decided to take air 2, which I think is pretty exciting.
It is exciting. I wonder what, like, if the argument there is that, like, you know, power allows you to dig hexes, and if you're founding towns, you want to dig hexes. There is no ship VPN, so maybe she's just sort of like wants air 2 to help her dig hexes locally versus upgrading shipping like crazy and reaching natural blues. I'm not entirely sure what the play is there on that. Of course, there is some synergy to the air cult, and I'm sure that will come with it's going to come with at least a worker and probably a spade sort of downstream. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yep. I think that this is actually very nice because of the double air rewards, right?
Yes.
Jekyll has also decided not to take the cult step like I was suggesting that she might. So I think that this actually seems to imply that she's going to send a priest to air.
First priest to air.
To get the double spade in round 2.
Yep.
Because right now she has, like, if you look right now, she has 7 power in bowl 1 with 4 power incoming. That's actually 1 short.
Yes.
But getting the first priest to air with Orin not getting a priest production or the stronghold in round 1.
Yep.
Or are they going to temple here? Nerdcube is thinking that instead of just instantly building a dwelling. So we could be seeing a temple here, possibly for like Earth 2, Water 2, Air 2. A lot of options if Nerdcube does decide to go with a temple here.
I think I actually like a temple here for Orin.
Really? 0 coin production?
Oh, there we go. 0 coin production? I mean...
Well, we see that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking that a temple for Orin would result in 0 coin income, right? Unless it was like Earth 2 or Fire 1, I guess.
I guess, except for, like, no one here has coin production. Standard openings don't have coin production. You have priest production or worker productions most of the time. I don't know. Like, pass for coins, priest to cults.
I agree with that,
like,
but he would also be unable to pass onto a coins tile.
It's totally true.
Kind of unlikely to get a coins power action. And also uniquely has 0 coins compared to everyone else.
Yes.
Where everyone else already has some coins.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a nice opening from Nerdcube. He spent every cent he had to do this, and it doesn't hit the track at all. Having said all that, it's a very strong economic opening. TP5 dwellings is definitely a good way to start a game. Deranged is still a bit quiet. Okay, I need to turn you up once and for all. The people are demanding you, and you're just going to sound like you're screaming in my ear, and I'll just live with it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay, lovely.
And Deranged is also going to project his voice. He's 180%.
Yeah.
So let me know if this sounds a little bit better, folks.
Meanwhile, we see that Deep Finesse took Earth 1. That's actually a pretty conservative type of opening, right? Like I don't know what that says. It could just say like, well, I've been handed a lot here. Let's not blow things by not scoring easily, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, why take anything else, I guess, is the other question. Like, he may have been counting out turns and knowing he was probably going to pass onto a coin style. Earth 1 comes with a coin as well. He already got the double dig. Like, it's not like, he's taking Earth 2 because it also comes with a cult spade, or he took double dig so all the Earth 1s are gone, or like he still got to do everything he wanted to. He still got the coins, he still got a bit of a cult reward from the Earth presence, and he got the double dig. I love the Earth 1 here from Deep Finesse. I think it's great.
That makes sense. In the meantime, I think that we're likely to see a stronghold for either Air 2 or Water 1 here from Nerdcube. I could be off on this, but a stronghold would actually enable Nerdcube to still get that water spade here, possibly on like F6 or B5 or something. We're gonna.
Oh, if it was a stronghold for Water 1 or Water 2.
Yeah. But we're gonna see what happens here. Obviously, this is an extremely coin-tight opening from Nerdcube.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, just goes for the hard dig. What are your thoughts on that? So, well, I guess he could still get a stronghold, perhaps, if he's just... Yeah, is he still going for a stronghold here? With a bit more leash?
I wonder
he still has it.
What's going to happen... Yeah, I just wonder what his next round is going to look like if he does put up the stronghold here. Is he going to be able to get onto one of those nice pass tiles if he does that? Because if he builds a stronghold, he's taking himself out of contention for the coins power action next round at this point, right? If you don't have the coins power action, you're not passing onto Jekyll's tile or Deep Finesse's tile, the ones with the coins printed on them.
Right.
What are you doing next round? I'm curious, you know? It looks actually kind of tight for Orin right now, specifically from a coins perspective.
Right.
Chad is suggesting that it's possible that another hard dig is coming. This would be like an insanely anti-track type of play. And I think that Orin really want to have a favor tile at least, right?
Yeah, Zikob is saying it's like he thinks he just passes on TP scoring. Are you seeing that here, Strange? Am I misinterpreting that, or it was like Zikob suggesting he doesn't actually build a temple this round? That he just passes for TP scoring, he opens with a coins action, he just builds out a bunch of trading posts?
That could happen as well, yeah.
Sorry, chat. How can you hear Deranged now? I realized why he was loud to me and really quiet to everyone else, and it's because I'm a bit of an idiot. Sounds perfect. Awesome. Nailed it.
Okay, cool. So I think that we're starting to see some of why Nerdcube made that hard dig, right? Oh, yeah, and there's the second hard dig. Very cool. Yeah, now, given that he's decided not to go the stronghold, not to take any favor tiles, I think it's highly likely that his next move is to pass on to that TP tile.
Yeah.
At that point, he can temple for Water 1 or not, and just build 3 trading posts and have like this bizarre looking Orin game with no favor tiles entering round 3, no big buildings, nothing other than trading posts and dwellings. And then in round 4, come in with a stronghold, come in with the temples, whatever.
Yeah, and this is nice to see from Nerdcube. This sort of progression of like rounds 1 and 2 speaks a lot to like some of the stuff Nerdcube has been saying on streams and in Discords and online and stuff sort of lately about like, what do you do when you don't have Earth 1? And there's been a lot of discussion about like, some people don't want to build their dwellings because they'd rather wait till there's a dwelling round or they're on a dwelling pass tile or something to score off them. And Nerdcube's been saying sort of, for a long time, but recently it's come up in conversation again that like the best thing to do if you don't have a mechanism to score dwellings, like if you don't have Earth 1 and the track distance, is just like build them as quickly as possible. Because like, yeah, you're losing out on the points, but what you're gaining instead is all the economy. So the incentive is like, I don't have Earth 1, so I better build as many dwellings as quickly as possible. And I think that's what I'm seeing from Nerdcube here is he's sort of like practicing what he's been preaching, I think, a little bit, and just like getting all his dwellings out. Because we see max worker production end of round 2. So.
Yep, it looks pretty cool. Definitely looks cool. In the meantime, Jekyll has advanced ship, and she has gone up, I believe it's with a power spade, onto C1. So despite having a bit of a slow round 1, she looks like in great position right now. She's going to build out 3 more dwellings this round. it burns down her coins, but yeah, I think that that's entirely fine if you can have both a temple like with an economic favor as well as all that worker production. And then next round, scrounge together whatever workers you can, and then build a couple trading posts, score a little bit, and then get set up for like the second half of the game.
Right. What do you think we're seeing from Deep Finesse here? He's got a trading post up. His trading post around. Is he templing? Is he just going to build TPs? Like what is he doing with this F5 structure?
I find it highly unlikely that anything is happening other than another temple here. I think that with round 3 trading posts, putting up a trading post now just for the economy is kind of silly.
Yes.
So I think that this is likely to be a temple, or I mean, if Deep Finesse feels like the urge to pass on to those 2 workers on that open pass tile, then he might do that. But I don't think that this TP is for the sake of just having a TP or scoring with a TP. I think that it's likely to be like, I think it's likely to turn into a temple here.
Yeah. Yeah,
I could be wrong. Like he makes unpredictable plays all the time, so I'm wrong a lot. But
so if Deep Finesse temples up in round 2, what is he templing for? Is this just an early water 1? And the reason I ask that is because if he is templing right now, and he knew that in round 1, I'm going to temple in round 1, I'm going to temple again in round 2, then why didn't he take an econ favor in round 1? Earth 1 was just sitting there; it was safe as anything. So I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I agree.
What this is.
Yeah, that does seem pretty strange, right? I'm very curious. Like, it could just be that he wanted to secure Earth 1 in round 1 and also score an extra 4 points, right? Because he built two more dwellings after taking Earth 1. Like, there's nothing wrong with just taking points, and it is Air 2. Oh man, this is it's going to get very contentious for power actions.
Deep Finesse either changed his changed his strategy, or I shouldn't say it like that. It's totally fine for players to not be able to see in round 1 exactly how round 2 is going to play out. But he either didn't see this playing out, or this means that he values 4 points more than 4 power in round 1, because he could have had his Air 1 power at the top of this round if he just forego the 4 points from Earth 1 that he got in round 1 after building G5 and H7. So
I think hot take, but I think Deep Finesse might have made the right read there. So there's a few factors, right? Like, first of all, at the point where he took that Earth 1, like, it wasn't clear that he wasn't going to lose Earth 1 necessarily, right? Because mermaids hadn't necessarily, I guess mermaids might have already taken Air 2 at that point, but there's also the fact that Deep Finesse got the power action he wanted this round, right? The power action he wanted this round was the 7 coins.
Right.
So he managed to get that. There's no real reason not to secure Earth 1, which comes with a coin, by the way, right? Like, the coin was also pretty.
Oh, that's true.
So there's a lot of reason that Earth 1 before taking the economy favor was pretty good that time.
So if we can just dig into this a little bit more, and then I'll stop being annoyingly micro. If he saw that, if he thought, I already have the power from a leech to get the coins action next round, a round 1 Air 2 is just 2 coins, right? Because you're just going to be down converting that into individual coins if you already have the power for a coins action anyhow. And Earth 1 comes with a coin.
That's kind of the way that.
So if he saw all of this, then what he's saying in retrospect is that I value 4 victory points over a single coin, which, yes, you probably do that even in round 1. So, in summary,
especially because it's coins, right? Especially because it's going to be a coin and not a dig, right? Like, a dig, you might trade 10 victory points if you get 2 extra spades or something in round 1, right?
Right.
Maybe more than 10 victory points for 2 spades or something. But in round 1, coins are the most plentiful thing that there is, right? You start with 15. Nerdcube upgraded his ship and built 4 dwellings at a trading post, and he only just managed to use up all his coins. So the round 1 coin isn't that important, and if you get the coins action after that, then you're not that concerned about it.
So we do see Jekyll building a trading post this round. Is that apt to become a second temple next round?
I think that Jekyll might actually have done that for economy. I'm not entirely sure. Because, I mean, she has easy access to build future dwellings, right? But I'm actually not sure about this one. Like it doesn't look bad or anything. I just don't like obviously see her intent there. Like
Right.
this is obviously like a good round for her to build dwellings in, and it does like balance her econ like quote balance her economy slightly, right?
Mm. Yep, absolutely. We see Rafa go for the double spade, which looks really nice on temp ship. Um,
Yeah, Rafa with two players taking air two, the two best like I think that air two means that you want to pass earlier because
yes.
air two is usually best if you can convert into power actions, but Nerdcube and Rafa, who did not take air two, passed first and took the two best power actions off the board.
Yeah.
Like the more people take air two, like the worse air two becomes, right?
Yeah, of course. That's a really interesting comment and a really interesting point to make about how round two broke. Yeah, that the two air twos are not getting very good use of their favors here. I suppose Jekyll didn't have enough power anyhow to take a power action, so hopefully she gets something nice in round four for her air two to really be worth it. Um, but we'll see.
We're told that this is the chat is telling us that this is excellent placement of the best landscape for Rafa there, and I think that it is very good placement, right? Because it immediately gains leech from mermaids, and it's going to gain even more leech when mermaids come to A4.
Yeah, I guess so. You're just getting free coins as opposed to power. Um, So we do see a trading post go up for Nerdcube, which means he is not building a temple. If he wanted Water 1, he would have presumably templed first and then build a trading post. So we are just seeing Nerdcube building presumably 3 TPs this round. He doesn't, or no, he'll end the round with 4 TPs. He has neighbors for 2 more. So he just builds 2 more trading posts. And then does he almost has enough resources if he converts some power to hard dig and get down a dwelling and town up.
Yeah, but is that good? My question is that good?
I don't
Like
know.
it's not clear to me.
I mean, the funny thing is like, so Nerdcube doesn't have a favor tile and has no priest production, but he also doesn't have a stronghold. But the third thing he doesn't have is he also hasn't just done one of those games where he's just like bought a bunch of priests, right? Like sometimes you can get away with delaying your stronghold or delaying priest production and stuff like that as long as you're willing to buy priests. But Nerdcube hasn't done that either. Like he literally has no position on the cults right now, so it'll be interesting to see what he does on the cults, or is he just playing, I hate to use the expression, but Walmart witches? Is he just playing a generic green faction?
Yeah, like right now, what I see is that Orin are going to, like, so we're talking about maybe Orin would just dig H4 and make a town, right?
H8.
With H8,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry,
Yep.
with E9 and F6 as TPs. Now that's totally fine, but like a lot of the time when you want to take an early town, it's for a very specific reason, right? Like you want to take like the ship town or you want to take the 2 key town. Those are the 2 best economic towns early, right?
Yeah.
But given the way that this is broken, like the 2 key town doesn't look good for Orin here, like at all, right? Because they have 0 cult presence. And they're not going to get cult presence until the end of round 4 or something. And, like meanwhile, each of the other factions has chosen 1 cult or 2 cults in the case of nomads to basically lock up early. So like the 2 key town is basically out. What does that leave? That leaves like a ship town. They go for G1 and F2. Like that doesn't seem particularly good either, right? They want to be digging now, no, not shipping. So like it's not clear to me that making a town is actually good for Orin, unless they just want to take like resources.
Yeah, and Matt the Lesser in chat is just saying, oof, now it's even worse with all the air spots gun. I mean, the air cult is the most contested cult this game. It has the best stuff, best free stuff, right? Mid-game spades and workers looks really nice. And it's all gone, right? The air cult's already locked up by 2 non-traditional cult factions. So, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
I also saw another comment just from Zitcob saying, I think Nerdcube wants to pass for big buildings, don't think he has time to town. And so that's interesting. Maybe Nerdcube's play here is builds another TP, passes for the big building, opens with a coin action, and then Whitey gets out a stronghold and Sure, he doesn't have enough for a stronghold and a sanctuary next turn. Maybe he would. 10 workers and a bunch of coins.
Yeah, like that's kind of like where I was going, right? Like if Nerdcube doesn't want to hard dig out a
Right.
dwelling very inefficiently and make a town, then like building all these TPs kind of constrains your worker production. So I think that it's highly likely that we see a pass for the stronghold once the trading post is up.
Right. He would have 5.
Meanwhile, Jekyll, yep,
Oh,
go
sorry. I
ahead.
was just counting workers. I was just saying he would have 5 worker production and 3 left on him. So that's 8. 2 from the pass tile. That's 10. So that is actually enough for a sanctuary, a temple, and a stronghold next round.
Yeah, I don't know if those all those dreams will be realized, but it would be pretty cool. But I was going to say, meanwhile, if we look over at other players' games, am I seeing it wrong, or is Deep Finesse not built anything? Deep Finesse has, I assume, advanced. No, has not advanced digs. Has advanced ship.
Advanced ship twice. I wanted to chat with you about that. I don't really know where he's going unless he's like, is he single spading H5, I guess, and getting down 2 more dwellings?
This could be H5 for sure. I was also thinking that D7 seemed reasonable. Nomads have ships, so nomads are going to get onto I7 and kind of make that not very efficient. But D7, I think, is pretty important for halflings because that's such a dig efficient town,
It's
right?
so great.
I think that it's likely that we see D7, D8, E10, F7 become a town in
Oh,
the east.
and Deep Finesse knows that Nerdcube is quite likely to build it unless Nerdcube early passes for the big building bonus. Deep Finesse is short of power for the. Oh, someone already took the double dig. I'm rambling on about something that doesn't exist. Who took the double spade?
That was snatched up by Raphael
Ah,
at the
right.
beginning of the round. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Nerdcube got the coins and Raphael got the double spade, and meanwhile the other two Air 2 players didn't wind up getting. They haven't taken any power action this
So
round,
so
right?
then
So
what is Deep Finesse doing up on D7? Like are you thinking he like action
cult
5
spades
and
coming
hard.
in.
Oh, you just think this is the ship advance just to efficiently use the cult spades.
I think that could easily be the case.
Right.
Like DFNS built out so much worker econ in round one, and now like if you just don't spend it and don't really build anything, then those workers just pile up, right? And if you're halflings, you're pretty happy about that.
Interesting. So, do you think Deep Finesse takes a power action this turn at all? Or
I actually kind of lean against it, but I don't know how that's going to happen. Meanwhile, this I didn't necessarily see coming. Nerdcube digs down his landscape. This might be a play to avoid having to make a sanctuary town or like ever build a sanctuary, right? Like this game, Nerdcube has played kind of wide and economic, building up the Orange Sanctuary, which is one of the worst structures in the game,
yeah.
economically speaking, would be like a huge bummer for his network aspirations. So securing this kind of town space, I think, is really nice. Like with a bridge and then also with the F4 hex, this would mean that he doesn't ever need to build a sanctuary.
Yeah.
So I do like this move.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you know how much I hate sanctuaries, and I'm always willing to have a good conversation about how much I hate sanctuaries. But I didn't see this either because I actually thought this was, passing onto the big building tile and just building a 9-point sanctuary next round for a favor tile seemed not terrible.
I agree.
But
At this point, it looks like Jekyll is probably going to get that. Or is Jekyll going to get it? Jekyll probably wants to use her cult step on air to get an extra spade.
she super does.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
We could look at Raphael's game too, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Raphael has built up 2 trading posts in this round. Raphael has not built a ton of dwellings, but has increased ship. I see like 2 priests just sitting there, which was kind of part of my concern for nomads. Like they're not going to get any cult economy out of those priests. They've already kind of locked up fire and earth, so they got victory points out of it. They haven't even advanced their ship because they're on the temp ship tile, which they used to get the double spade. It's very good for them. But like, what's going to happen with all those priests?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good point you make that, like, and this happens sometimes when cult rewards are doubled up, is like there basically are no more cult rewards to be had for the game, right? Like no one wants like late priests or like, you know, right up there with late power that just overflows kind of thing. Like late priests are very underwhelming. All the spots on air are taken. Like it's, you know, partway through round 3 and there's no way to convert priests into economy this game. It happened very quick. So, it'll be interesting to see what Rafa does with those priests, other than use them as fancy workers, probably lock up 2 cults, and get a trickle of power here and there.
Yeah. I believe that no copies of Water 1 have been taken so far.
That's correct.
And that's pretty interesting. Like the early TPs, you know, kind of sometimes you see players, you know, like not worry about building those trading posts and then maybe like take a sanctuary for Water 1, you know? It's like those trading posts will count the same amount later if you have Water 1 as if you're, even though like compared to building them now.
Yeah.
But I do think that, you know, these spades, Rafa, like if we look at each player and like their current position, it can kind of make sense that they're not doing that, right? So for Jekyll, she doesn't need that much worker production early because guess what? She has, you know, cult spades coming in. She doesn't need to do hard digs. Deep finesse, you know, same thing. And the Deep finesse didn't build all those trading posts. Raphael has a surplus of priests, which are basically, as we discussed, basically just workers. So it's okay to build those trading posts early as well. Going into the next round, I think that there's going to be, Miracube didn't build a 4th TP there.
No, he passed. I think was he interpreting that Rafa would be willing to pass now. So
that must be the case,
right?
Yeah.
And so he valued that. So he basically had 1 turn left in a sense. Like he used his last turn on E7. So he valued that hard dig on E7 over a 3-point TP, and decided that he couldn't do both.
Yeah.
Now
I don't know about that. Rafa spent.
Interestingly enough, took a worker's action, which is always like, for me, right? Like when you learn Terra Mystica, one of the early things you know about nomads is like they are a faction that tends to not have a hard time with worker production and tend to be coin starved. And here you see Earth 2 nomads that take a round 3 workers action. I guess it makes sense in the context of another trading post, but
yeah, I find that a little bit iffy.
I mean, I guess he can build another trading. He's getting a dwelling and a trading post, and then that also stalls him long enough to pass on.
If it's a trading post, then that makes sense. Yeah, if it's a trading post, then this makes sense. I was thinking that it was going to be like another dwelling because I'm still thinking in terms of building your economy through dwellings, but this is actually pretty nice. Like getting a 3rd TP for nomads gets very nice coin econ, and then you can just do like, you know, you can figure out your workers later. The workers action is not the most contested action, so you can like, and there are workers on pass tiles and stuff. You know, he's gonna probably pass here for the worker power tile.
Is it, or is it cult coins?
Or the coins?
Yeah, it's probably cult coins. I would.
Actually, you're right. The cult coins.
Never mind. I'm totally wrong. Worker power. It was worker power.
Well, so my read here was that like he wants to build a big building this round, right? So then he'll want at least 1 worker left over to build a dwelling. Like if it's a stronghold, then he wants to put that on A5 and then sandstorm A6 and build a dwelling. And there's the cult spades by Deep Finesse on D7. There's the 2 cult spades by Jekyll.
And we're expecting Deep Finesse to take action 6 here, I believe. When he down converted, he down converted just the power that he would gain back, so he would have 6 tokens in bowl 3, and then passed on to 6 coins. This is a lot of spades, but the only reason that would make sense is if he's using this to double dig as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
And maybe it's just
in that
D4.
case, I think that D4.
Yeah,
D4 is pretty important right now.
D4,
like because Oren took E7, which actually puts a little bit of pressure on D4, right?
It does.
It's not a ton, but it's something. Yeah, and there you go.
So for Deep Finesse this round, I think I do like just Sanctuary for Water 1 here. He didn't play the TP round. He didn't build a bunch of trading posts and get score from those structures that round. So I think Deep Finesse, and he's going to need a Sanctuary for his round 6 town anyhow. So I expect a copy of Water 1 to be taken here by Deep Finesse with an E6 Sanctuary.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And then if Nomads beat him to G4, then he just, digs out I10 or something in sort of later rounds, probably in round 5 when he has his digs upgraded. Sanctuary
Jekyll
from Jekyll for Earth 1.
Yep, that's the last copy of Earth 1 this game. I think it makes a lot of sense. The next round is a Dwellings round, and Jekyll has a million open blues.
Yep, that looks really nice. She's also built already 3 trading posts this game. And is on the TP tile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jekyll being on the TP tile and having great worker production coming in next round to the air cult. I think we're seeing another trading post here from Jekyll. She's on the TP bonus. She down converts some power. She builds a TP.
It's a very interesting thought. I think you might be right.
Skips Water 1, smashes the Dwelling round, and then you're good to go.
I will say, there's a little bit of threat on F2, right? Nomads just put up their Sanctuary. Like, we don't know what Rafa is thinking. And we don't know how Jekyll feels about F2 right now. I guess, that A7 Dwelling is trouble for Raphael in terms of that northern town.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a while before Deep Finesse double digs A6. I mean, he already has 3 towns he's working on. I think A6 would be... That's a 2-spade disruption. You know what I mean? Like, I think if Rafa doesn't take it by round, like maybe next round or in round 6, like obviously it could easily be taken once Deep Finesse has his towns figured out, and he has some extra workers to play with. And C2, I don't think is being taken by anyone. So I don't know.
That's true. That could easily just be like a pure play after connection or something, or finding the 3rd town space, right?
Yeah. And we talked about this Okay, so Jekyll does build that Dwelling, just sort of pays the... She actually has enough resources to build a TP still. If she wants to convert a priest to a worker, like she can get that TP out.
Yep, or power to a worker, whatever. Yep.
What I'm curious to see here, Deranged, is... I'll see if I can get it out before Rafa makes a move, but is do we see a ship advance and an I7 Dwelling placement, and do we see that Sandstorm happening on H4? That would be the play for this town. He doesn't have to do it this round. But it's
that is quite an interesting thought. But with this move, I think that Rafa may be forfeiting that because Nerdcube, I think, has a lot of incentive to take H4. Like we were talking about how E7 could have been like
course.
Yeah.
Right, I see what you mean.
Nerdcube doesn't even hesitate to take that big leech. Nerdcube chose Air 1 over Water 1, and didn't even hesitate to take that big leech. So that's pretty interesting. Nerdcube still has big dreams.
Yeah,
I think that those big dreams have to include taking H4.
Yes. There comes the bridge. So in chat, just to catch up, Orin builds Stronghold Sanctuary this round. I think people are agreeing that that's going to happen. So
there is exactly enough stuff in Nerdcube's wallet right now to do that, right? It requires 6 workers and 13 coins.
Well,
to build a sanctuary right now.
So
we could.
So this is the question then: what 2 additional favors are so? Nerdcube will be taking 3 favors this round. And Air 1 usually would speak to, I'm not taking any other favors this round, just because there's usually a bit more pressure on Water 1 than there is on Air 1. So, but maybe he's just not revealing his hand. Like normally, if you were taking 3 favors, you would take Water 1 and then you would build a temple and then build take Air 1 and then something else with your sanctuary. He started with Air 1. So anyhow, I guess my point is his Air 1 take kind of suggests that it's not obvious to me based on that favor tile take that he is doing the sanctuary, but I still think he probably is.
I agree.
I think he's taking Water 1 and I don't know, Water 2? I have no idea.
Yep, I totally agree. it makes it seem probably like a little less likely that he is going for that sanctuary, right? Like, uh, just the simple fact that he took Air One first, it does seem to imply like I'm leaving myself an out in case I don't really feel like building
Right.
another structure, like in building up more this round.
Right. Yeah. Um, so we see a pass from Deep Finesse. Um, so Deep Finesse could have gotten. He could have sent priests to cults. I guess that's not particularly helpful. There's no rewards coming in. The main thing he could have done is he could have built a dwelling. He could have built 2 dwellings if he wanted to, but he chose instead of building his economy to go for an early pass. Is this to just like get on one of the coins tiles, open with a coins action, and then just have a really nice round 5? I guess that's just what he's going for here.
I have to imagine that that's what's happening there. Yeah, like deep finesse, like basically like Orin are not going to dig D7 on them like ever, right? Um,
Yeah.
deep finesse has his economy all figured out in terms of workers, just needs coins. So next round we're probably going to see a coins action, then D7, D8, and we may see dig advances next round, given how many priests deep finesse has.
I would think,
We
yeah.
might also see a play for connection. We'll see if Raphael gets aggressive out advancing ship ever, but we may see a play for connection possibly. Meanwhile, we do see that Raphael did advance his ship finally. So with the 2 extra priests, I think it's pretty likely that we see I7 built like almost imminently. I don't know if it's going to be right away, but on the other hand, we did see that Jekyll did put up that 3rd trading post as you predicted. She just respected the F2 pressure first.
Yep. I think that's reasonable. Oh, Ghostly's asking me to sit up straight in my chair. Sorry. Getting that sort of like late stream slouch thing going on. I'll sit up. Thanks, Ghostly. All right. Who's in the lead here? I'm asking Deranged. I'm also asking chat what everyone thinks. I mean, is Deep Finesse kind of just doing pretty good here? He's got 3 towns. But most stuff just kind of broke pretty well for him.
Deep Finesse is doing amazing. I think Deep Finesse is doing pretty amazing right now. Like the way that Mermaids and Orin attacked each other in round 1 was very,
Yes.
I think it hurt both of them a bit. Now that said, I mean, Jekyll has recovered incredibly well. NerdQ, meanwhile, is going for the Water 1 plus a Sanctuary line, which is very exciting. This is pretty dangerous, but I think that it is, well, it looks like it pays off at that moment, going for the temple, because Raphael did not, like key point, right? Raphael did not build on I7 there. Instead built a trading post. That could have been very scary for NerdCube if he had gone onto I7, especially after committing that temple to F6. Like there's just no way that NerdCube wants to build another temple and a sanctuary
No.
after putting a temple onto F6. So I think that that's a good break. That like that pressure didn't wind up happening. I mean, NerdCube is finding ways to score now without Earth 1. Didn't get any points from Water 1, didn't get any points from Earth 1, but has found ways to hit the pass tiles hard, and right now is hitting the track quite well. We'll see how many dwellings he's able to get out next round. Jekyll, I think, is just, like securing Earth 1 this round. Great move, hit the track, sets up next round perfectly. Really like where her game is at after that kind of really ugly round 1.
Yeah, I really like what Jekyll did in this last round. There's just like a bunch of her moves just lined up so nicely, right? Like the Sanctuary for Earth 1, I thought that was very tasteful. Building TP's Ode in the TP round, skipping Water 1 further by going on to the TP bonus, and then squeaking out another trading post. Building up so your economy is giving you a lot of coins, but that's sort of being backfed by the air workers coming in. Like it all just really works nicely together. Yeah, that was just like a really satisfying round to see coming from Jekyll. A whole round really came together quite nicely. Do see a coins action from Deep Finesse, just snap that up. Action 4 alert. How is that broken down so far? anyone in chat keeping track of that, or Derange, perhaps you can remember? Deep Finesse has gotten coins twice, though,
I think
right?
that, yeah, Deep Finesse got the round 2 coins and the round 4 coins, I believe, because we discussed in round 2 how he managed to get them without
Right.
having to take Air 2 ahead of time. Raphael, I believe, took the coins late in round 1 to fund his double temple
Yes.
shenanigans.
Right.
And Nerdcube, with an early pass, managed to get the coins in order to build out those TPs in round 3. So 2 coins actions from Deep Finesse with Air 2, super efficient use, plus all the call rewards that have come from that. Just like this game is definitely like a really nice display from Jekyll and Deep Finesse in terms of how to use the cults to like help boost your economy.
Right.
Like Jekyll has only 4 dwellings on the board, but 1 million workers because of her dedication to the air cult.
Yep. I guess this means one one takeaway from this is that means Jekyll hasn't gotten a coins action in this game. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's like the issue with the Air 2, right? Like the fact that she hasn't been passing first means that she hasn't gotten the coins action. But that said, I mean, she seems to be doing okay without it. Like look at her economy where it is now, right? Like perhaps she could have had like a nicer, like arrangement of trading posts, and like scored a little better if she had gotten coins better, but it's worked out okay. You don't like 2 coins from Air 2 plus like all those cult rewards, I think is like pretty good justification, even if you somehow never get the coins action.
I think we see for the first time this game Nerdcube having priest production. He has two.
We do.
Two
Yeah,
priests.
that temple helped. And like we didn't talk about this, but Nerdcube decided to go for the hard dig on H4, just lock up that hex anyway, even after building the temple, instead of going for the sanctuary. I don't think that was always the plan. I think that there was some like, I think that that's kind of a sign of indecisiveness a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I love that, because then he just took action 5 plus 3 workers to secure B5, which kind of suggests he's trying to go 3 town. Well, I guess that's to knock out Halfling's connection, or to attempt to, and to possibly firm up a 3rd town.
I don't think that stops Halfling's connections at all, right? That might stop Halflings from 4 towning, right? But like Halflings still have D6.
I guess that's what I mean. It makes it more challenging. Yeah, D6, which is now
true.
accessible by nomads pretty easily, who also wants who would also be fighting for network stuff. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, put pressure on that hex.
But so I'll take a step back. That B5 dig, is that an indication that Nerdcube's trying to 3 towning here? I guess that is what it means, right? Like he knows Nomad's going to B4, and so this just sets up for 3 towns nicely. And so I guess what he's doing here is he's giving up a 3rd favor tile last round, which once all the Earth 1s are gone, you've got a Water 1, you've got an Air 1, it's round 4, and Econ favor isn't that great for only 2 rounds. Like a 3rd favor isn't that nice. So it's basically 9 points, right? 5 in the track, 4 in the pass. He's basically giving that up in order to give himself an extra workers and coins to sort of pay for this expensive dig to fuel a 3rd town. So sort of giving up a 9 points to fuel a 3rd town, I guess, is the decision.
I think that we're very likely to see Nerdcube have a very short round here, and perhaps just like pass onto the big building tile and try to open with like Sanctuary Fire 2 to snatch up 2 towns. Like, why not build a Sanctuary then? Maybe because he wants, like, the only favor tile that he's still interested in is Fire 2.
Right.
And of course, like Fire 2 would cause that town to the towns to happen too early.
I mean, he probably just temples then for Fire 2. I mean,
that's true, but then what's the Sanctuary for, right? That was
I see. Right? Yeah, I think. Yeah, like the only spot for a Sanctuary is F6, and it makes kind of the H8 into I11 stuff kind of sad. So,
it's not clear what's going to happen right now.
Yeah.
Looking at other players' plans, I think Jekyll needs a bridge. I think she decided to build a dwelling instead of building a bridge. Don't know necessarily why she isn't securing the bridge early. But in any case, it does look like there's very little pressure on it because no one else particularly wants it, right? Like
Yes.
nomads no longer want a bridge at all. It would have to be like a very blocky move to decide that, hey, it's I'm just deciding to like attack Jekyll in order to like build that bridge.
So I was just trying to think if there's any Fire 2 pressure here. I think the answer is no because nomads aren't 3-towning. But Jekyll probably wants Fire 2. Deep Finesse, if he's 3-towning, and also wants to try to connect and maybe fight Network, wants Fire 2. Orin definitely wants Fire 2. So, I don't know. Maybe it's as clean as, yeah, but nomads don't want it, so everyone can just take it at their leisure. But, like, I feel like someone's game is going to get shattered if, like, Rafa decides that he does want a copy of Fire 2 for some reason.
I think that almost all the players here have, like, outs if they get Fire 2 block. But, yeah, Fire 2, like, does allow you to take towns with tempo, right? And that's really nice. Like, I think that Nerd Cube could definitely, like, if Deep Finesse doesn't, like, go and disrupt him too badly, right? He could still squeeze out like 3 towns without Fire 2 here.
Who? Nerd Cube?
Nerd Cube could, I think. Yeah. Like, I think that like 2 dwellings down on H8 and I11, right? Then take A7, A11, and then build 3 TPs there. I guess you have some issues like
you still need a
the third
temple.
town.
Yeah, you'd still need a temple.
That's true. Like a temple and trading post might be kind of tough.
Yeah, he'd need a temple and
but
an
like-
expensive trading post, and then 3 dwellings and 2 hard. It's possible, but it's one of those
Yeah.
things where like at that point you need to build a temple anyhow. So what are you going to take instead of Fire 2? Fire 3? So I think
Yeah,
that's sort of
exactly,
the argument.
Yeah. We do see that Rafa has passed onto the big building tile. I think
Yep.
that we're highly likely to see. I think that with Rafa's economy, it's likely that we see 1 town or even 2 towns taken with Rafa's first action if he cares a lot about which towns to take, as opposed to like traditionally, fighting over Act 4 or whatever.
Sure. Yep. That's something that definitely took me a while to learn in Terra Mystica. As I was watching really high level players, all they would do all game is fiend about coins actions all game, and then like so I would try to learn how to do that, and then I would do it in round 6, and then I would come back in a town, and everyone's towns are founded, and all the good town keys are gone. So it's this interesting thing where people like care a lot about coins most of the game, but in round 6, a lot of high level players are pretty willing to A, give up a coins action, and B, take a copy of Fire 2, even when they don't need it, just to Fire 2 block someone else, and also, as you said, get tempo on town keys of their choice. Certainly, many, if anyone remembers the Fire and Ice season of Arena, there were a lot of games Rainier was playing where that was definitely the case.
Taking a look at this, what's left here, if we look at all the structures left on people's boards, we can start making guesses about like how the network race will break down, right? Now, there are no more blue hexes left. So Jekyll might get out like 2, maybe 3 more structures. It looks like she's probably not in super high contention for network here. Rafa has a bunch of stuff left on his board, but there are still a couple of free yellows. There's still a sandstorm. There's 3 free yellows left. So I think that Rafa is easily getting to 15. And then there's a sandstorm. Like halflings aren't threatening any of those yellows. So it looks like halflings have network locked up. Nomads have network locked up.
Yeah.
Halflings advance their digs, and they're going to put out a bunch more dwellings this round. The question is, how many TPs can they manage next round, along with still building out dwellings? I think that it's unlikely that we see another temple from halflings. Well, we might see temple for Fire 2, but it's unlikely that we see like all the temples, all the trading posts, and all the dwellings built out.
Yeah.
So, and like that landscape is sticking on their board, right? So they're going to end with at least like 4 structures left.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm seeing here too. Maybe this temple goes out, but I don't think that temple gets the TP and the dwelling, subsequent TP and dwelling. I don't think that gets built out. And you brought up a good point that like all these other factions, well, 2 of the factions already have a landscape out. Jekyll will just smash hers down whenever it's convenient. That's just pretty straightforward. But halflings are not building a stronghold to get this out, so they're always like -1 on network to everyone else.
Yeah.
So.
Fun fact alert: if we look at Deep Finesse, he just took a town. He took the 8-pointer, which, it's one of the most desirable towns in round 6, but it's not. I guess it gets him a priest right now, right? Like off the cult. But it's like not the most obvious reason to rush a town for that 8-pointer. Very interesting,
Well,
in my opinion.
I haven't been calking out
Sure.
this round for him too closely, but did that like is he now able to like send his priest to air to lock up air and still have the resources to get out forward dwelling? Like there must be some sort of like more fine-tuned calculation
Oh, that's a
there.
very good point about about locking up air. Yeah,
Oh,
because getting the town key is very nice for that.
yeah,
Jekyll is definitely positioned to like take fire 2 and then take both 8-pointers.
Right.
So that's a good read there.
right.
Like basically my thought was like, oh, Deep Finesse, like, is that 8-pointer 5 points better than like the next best town? But yeah, if he's losing air because of it, then that is very important.
Right. And is this also a read from Deep Finesse that he thinks Jekyll is his biggest threat?
I think it is. And I think that he might be right to think that. Like, Raphael is going to get the first shot at towns. He could sanctuary for 2 towns if he wanted to. I don't know if that's like his plan, but I think that mermaids have 3 towns very cleanly. And I think that that's going to be pretty big. Mermaids are also going to get down to like 4 structures, which is going to at least tie Deep Finesse for network.
And so as we were talking about the network stuff earlier, I've sort of I think it's kind of clear that like Deep Finesse probably isn't getting any network points, even if he does connect. So is Deep Finesse like I've been talking about his connection path, but does he just not care about connection here? Seems a little sad to be at 2 shipping and not try to connect, but I guess that 2 shipping was all just about a 3rd town, and it never had anything to do with his network, because even if he does connect, it's going to be difficult and inefficient, and he's not getting any network points.
That's true.
So he.
Meanwhile, we see Nerdcube also struggling with the decision whether to make a town here or not, right? Like, Nerdcube has 1 dwelling left on his board, which gives him no economy, but it is a dwelling round.
Mm-hmm.
So building that dwelling would form a town, but it would only be 3 points worse to make that town now. We're gonna see like how he values that, and like what town is okay. So there it is. What town is worth it to take here? Could it be the 2 key town? Like, I know it's kind of crazy that I said, oh, it's too, like, it doesn't really make sense for Nerdcube to take the 2 key town later, but at this point, I'm not sure if it's that bad. It's an 8-pointer though.
It's an 8-pointer. Okay. I mean, yeah. I guess the thing is like without that, like Jekyll could get pretty close to locking. I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch, but I don't know if there was a world where Jekyll actually just takes a 2 key town and an 8-pointer and somehow beats Orin on
Yeah,
water
yeah.
there.
Makes like a really like a play at water that Nerdcube doesn't want to have to think about.
Exactly. So this does just kind of lock up water in a sense. A, because it's a step, and B, now like whatever towns Jekyll is taking, like there are no cult towns left other than the 2 key town, which looks pretty bad for her here. So I think she's just like not trying to contest any cults in any like crazy way, and probably just like, I don't know, maybe takes a couple priest towns. Locks up a few seconds, that kind of thing, if she can.
I think that we saw some of Deep Finesse's famous kind of like playing the opponents type of situation here, where he, like, I think that Nerdcube would have greatly welcomed Leech throughout that round. But now Deep Finesse is like finally building next to Nerdcube now that Nerdcube is passed and can no longer accept Leech. Mm-hmm. Just like one of the classic ways that, you can be like very clever when you play.
Yeah.
And he's doing it. Very cool.
Yep, absolutely.
Deep Finesse, meanwhile, is definitely going to be in. Well, actually, I'm not sure. He should want Fire 2 here. But it would require making another temple, which is kind of annoying.
Sorry, you're saying Deep Finesse definitely wants Fire 2. I think he does, right?
Yeah, because like 2 of those TPs are locked up over in the west.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, without Fire 2, he would probably want like 4 TPs in the east, which is obviously not happening.
No.
We're gonna see what pressure there is on Fire 2 here. It's interesting. Like, that is one way that Deep Finesse's game could go pretty badly.
Yeah, for sure. If Raph does pull the trigger on a Sanctuary for Fire 2 and just Because again, there's sort of this
Yeah.
question. Well, I guess the thing with Rafa is that Air 1 does come with some points. So like he doesn't have
That's
Air
true.
1.
That's true.
You know, Water 1 is 3 points and a step on, like, I don't know. So he is actually giving something up by doing that. And he probably
Yeah,
doesn't
for sure.
need
For sure.
those fire steps necessarily to secure it. So we'll see. But yeah, I think Deep Finesse wants a copy of Fire 2. He wants a trading post on G5 or H7. He wants another trading post in his other town. And then he has to dig one more hex on each side. So he digs I-10, and then he digs G7. And so it's pretty clean. It's like
Yep.
temple, 2 TPs, 2 dwellings. He'll have one more dwelling left to just build wherever for points, and that seems to be pretty much his game. Things do get a little sketchy, I think, without Fire 2.
Yeah. That said, it might be too early to say that, but it does look kind of like Raphael might just be a little too far behind here. Like he has connection, so he will have a lot of endgame points, right? He has like 16
Totally.
points on the cults plus 18 points on network, so he has like 34 endgame points,
And
and he has 2 towns coming
an
in.
8-point pass tile, right? Like,
And an 8-point pass tile. But if we count all of Raphael's endgame points, that only takes him up to where Deep Finesse is right now. And he
sure.
decides to go for the coins. Okay, so he's not going for towns yet. He's going for coins.
And maybe like this speaks to network implications too, right? Like I don't actually know, but does he want a third ship here? Like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he could. This might just be Raphael deciding that taking coins away from the table is the best way to, like, control everyone else's score, because I'm not convinced that he needs the coins in order to lock up network here. Right, like I think that Raphael is kind of one network, um, based on just some of like the quick looks earlier. But maybe he's done the math and like he just wants like the cushion or whatever.
Guess. Yeah,
Here's Fire 2 from Jekyll.
it does seem suspicious, because if this is a Fire 2 from Jekyll, followed by a Fire 2 from Nerdcube, followed by a Fire 2 from Deep Finesse, then there's going to be 1, 2, 3, well, I guess 3 town keys taken by the time it comes back to him to then take 1.
4, right? Oh yeah, sorry,
Right?
because Deep Finesse isn't founding a town.
And
Yeah.
and then there'll be like another 1 gone, or some 1 or 2
Yeah,
gone
like
before he gets his next one. So he is getting into some pretty cruddy towns towards the end.
Yeah, like both Priest towns and the 11-pointer should. Well, it's not clear that Nerdcube can afford an 11-pointer here, right?
And maybe
Nerdcube might have to.
yeah, and maybe
Oh, never
Rafa
mind.
has
He should be able to. He should be able to. Yeah.
maybe Rafa has done the math on that and knows that people need some resources.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Raph could want a
so
bridge. Someone's saying in chat, are we talking about a 3-town Nomads game here that he's going to ship to H3, hard dig that, bridge to G1, sandstorm it, and try to do another town?
I mean, that could put him into contention for the win. Maybe, yeah, I mean, he does have to play greedy to win, right? Like, even if he takes the 2 best towns with like a Sanctuary and then wins network, it's not enough to win the game. So if the only way to win this is to get greedy by hard digging H3, sandstorming G1, and then building a bridge, then that's probably it's probably the right play to go for it, because basically that says, hey, which of you guys is gonna block me, right? Like,
right.
Nerdcube just took the 11-pointer after both Priest towns were gone. So Raphael, yeah, might be taking some economic towns in order to just try to get as far out as he can. Here's Fire 2 from Deep Finesse.
So Rafa is basically choosing a coins action and a few Air 1 points over tempo on 2 towns. Right? So the coins action was 3 extra coins. Air 1 is probably 4 points. And so that's...
Is Raphael taking another favor tile this game?
Well, is he building a sanctuary so that he doesn't have to use a sandstorm on F1? Right? Like, he could just sandstorm F1, but he's also on the big building pass tile. So building a sanctuary saves you your sandstorm for elsewhere if that's helpful, and is 4 points on the pass and 4 points on Air 1. So it's like an 8-point sanctuary.
That makes sense.
So
Uh, so on the, I know we're all like truthers for Raphael's third town right now, but he doesn't have the power for a bridge. Um, like the two key town could give him that, but God, that's like a bad town for him right now, right? Like, so I'm not convinced if he's going for that.
I mean, he's close to being there. I mean, he sends a priest
Could
to
he
fire and he
could?
has it. Like, it's, you know.
That's true. That's true. The priest of fire could do it, but
And
yeah,
if I'm
we'll
in
see.
Rafa's position here, also at this table, I'm expecting that other players aren't particularly interested in bridge blocking me because they're seeing me as behind. So as Rafa, I'm
Yeah,
doing the
that's
greedy
definitely true.
things and expecting everyone will just sort of allow me to take those moves. That wouldn't be the case if you were Jekyll, for instance, or you know what I mean, if you're in contention for the first and second seeds. But
Sure.
yeah,
Defense is thinking about this instead of just like building a TP or digging I-10. I wonder if he's thinking if he should be blocking Nerdcube on A11 right now. Just like putting like a single spade there would make Nerdcube's life a lot more annoying. Because Nerdcube wants like Nerdcube still wants to ship a bunch this game, right? Like Nerdcube's network is pretty good. Um,
does he want to ship a bunch? Oh, you see, he wants to connect. He wants to invest his resources.
yeah,
To
to
I see.
connect, yeah.
Um,
Um, In that case, D6 might just be Nerdcube's best hex anyway, as opposed to like the single spade on A11. D6 relieves the shipping pressure for him.
oh, I see. Interesting. Yep.
Yeah. If we look at Jekyll's game right now, it's going super smoothly. I wonder if she's going to. I wonder if she wants another scoring favor, is what I was thinking, right? Like, there's still a copy of Water One, there's still two copies of Air One, but at this point, the answer might just be no, right? She's on the TP tile, so two trading posts, and then just build out as much of her stuff as she can.
Right.
Might just be better.
It's a question around network, right? So you know, the
Yeah,
best thing to do for network is just to build two TPs and three dwellings. Save your resources for a hard dig to try to get out three dwellings, like dig D1, dig E1. You know, build on I2, and just
yeah,
like
yeah. That makes
go
sense.
down to
That makes
network
sense.
15. But if if the network play doesn't make sense there, like if she thinks that other people are just going to beat that anyhow, then to go a little more favor greedy, build another temple, which now gives you three water one back TPs to build. Like suddenly that's sort of like, okay, I'm giving up on network and now I just want to score 9 more points on favors and go tall. Um,
Yeah, it does look like the better move is probably to like try to contest network here
I think
because
so. Yeah.
Orin are definitely starting to run out of juice.
Yeah.
They don't have any more greens left.
Yep.
So they're gonna have to work hard for anything left.
Yeah.
Orin are gonna get down to like, yeah,
And Jekyll's sitting on 13 workers, so she's got spades.
yeah.
Jekyll sends the last priest to fire. I know how much you love your last priest spots deranged.
So the last pre spots are so good.
Yeah, ever since you
It's
made
very
that
painful
comment
to
in
like
one
get
of my
overtaken out.
streams of something like you made me look at them like the last pre-spot is as good as the first, and all this like it just broke my mind. Little things like that in Terra Mystica are probably obvious to other people, but I just anyhow now I'm obsessed with
Yeah,
last
yeah,
pre-spots. I'm taking them all the time, and I'm like,
yeah. I mean, the good thing for Nerdcube, right, is that he has the Orin Stronghold ability to
yes,
like
yeah,
still contest that.
for sure.
That's when the Stronghold actually becomes very valuable for Orin. Um, but in the meantime, Raphael has built one of his towns. He took a worker town, which definitely seems to point toward dreams of G1. Um,
Yeah, G1 and then getting down to 16 network 16.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
So this is just a hard dig from Nerdcube, presumably. He's just hard digging and securing his dwelling on A11 while he can, and then taking his town.
yeah, presumably he's just wondering like how much economy he needs like
Right,
from his
right, right,
town.
right.
Like how bad of a town does he have to take here is essentially what he's wondering. Not that there's great towns left anyway, but like the ship town would be like a very good way to just be like, okay, I'm good. I'm good, guys, right? Like I don't need to worry about my connection anymore. Um,
There it is. There's the hard dig. Down converted one of his power to a coin. Builds out a dwelling. He'll be left with 4 power, 3 priests, and a coin.
Yep. Which, with the Orin cult stuff is 1 resource, right? Or like 1.5 resources. So like technically an 11 pointer would be enough there. It does look pretty clear at this point that D-Finesse taking away, by the way, D-Finesse taking away D6 is pretty good, possibly even better than taking away A11. As I was saying, like D6 would have allowed Nerdcube to connect on only 2 ship. It's an extra spade, but it's like a little more flexibility in other areas.
I guess he'd be trading 3 workers for 5 resources.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, right? But yeah, this looks like Nerdcube is probably like Nerdcube and Raphael just don't look like they quite have the juice to compete right now. D-Finesse's priests are basically all workers at this point, because there will be a lot of workers required to carve out that last town, those last 2 towns, right?
Yeah, totally. And he's taking, there must be a coin town in there or something, eh? Oh, we see an undo from Nerdcube. Nerdcube had previously done a hard dig on A11, built a dwelling, and taken a ship town.
Oh man, the time is right. The clock is running out. The clock is running out.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a priest to Earth. Wow. Okay.
Priest to Earth. What is that about? Like, is he trying to lock, like... Oh. Nerdcube's saying that he changed his mind the last second, and then the internet went out.
Yeah, but it was still an undo, right? Like, the undo still happened, which means that he was still considering a different tack.
What's that priest to Earth about? Just floating A11 is like he's made the decision that like Deep Finesse doesn't have enough juice to mess with him.
Deep Finesse doesn't have enough. Yeah, so, definitely doesn't have enough stuff to mess
and Deep
with
Finesse
him,
is building. When Deep Finesse built that TP, he got a free power. I guess he would have anyhow, but
I think that it had to do with like delaying considerations. Like he wanted to basically be able to get like a good leech situation for himself. I think. Right. Like Deep Finesse, we saw last time that Deep Finesse just like delayed like a hilariously long amount of time to make sure that Nerdcube didn't get leeched during the dwelling round.
Sorry, I'm also just been trying to catch up on chat, but I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Someone's talking about washing your hands before touching the stuff. There's a buffet. Fire 2 Tournaments is here sending people to jail, and now it's Bizzle with his other account also here taking people to jail. I'm
scrolling up and it looks like there's discussion about merchants.
Okay, 9-player merchants expansion. Okay. I don't mean to be ignoring anyone in chat. I just don't have any idea what you guys are talking about. But welcome, Bizzle. Oh. So, okay, someone's going to Terra Mystica jail for playing 9-player Terra Mystica. It's on. Fair enough. I'm good. Thanks for the update. So we see a trading post from Jekyll.
Over here. Yeah. But I was going to say over here, whose game do you like? I think that, like I've stated that Jekyll and Deep Finesse, I think, are the 2 in the lead right now. If you agree with that, like who between those 2 do you like right now? Or if not, then like, who do you think? Like,
I mean, I think it's got.
Might have it?
No, I think it's got to be between Deep Finesse and Jekyll, and Deep Finesse has 1 more town coming in than Jekyll. I mean, Jekyll has a lot more stuff, and is going to have network points on Deep Finesse, and has a pass tile. So that was not a helpful answer.
So Nerdcube decided to go for this line. That's very interesting. This is punting network away completely. And I think that might be the right read, right? Like Nerdcube doesn't have Earth 1, is never catching nomads, like probably was not catching Jekyll anymore, like looking at how many air workers she had. But Nerdcube did have that landscape, so instead went for the 2-key town and is going to steal a fire cult from
Oh,
Raphael. Yeah. And honestly, like Raphael is probably his competition now, right? Like they're probably fighting for third. So this is like mean, but it's very practical. And plus, it also uses the landscape quite well. So I think I like this a lot from Nerdcube.
Yeah, if the landscape wasn't part of the calculations, it might still be fine. But it's like you're losing a lot of points on the town to take the 2-key, and you're taking like a 3-step favor, building a sanctuary, which nerfs your network and all those sorts of things. But he did jump way up on the fire cult, and he has a stronghold action, which he can now use really well, right? Like the last 2 steps on fire is a very good use of your stronghold. But of course, because he's got the landscape down, just to sweeten that whole deal with an extra 4 points on landscape, like that's pretty awesome.
I mean, the guy had like no favor tiles and no priests on cults heading into round 4, and now it's this, right? He's going to have the best cult score of any player in this game, right? There's no fire 2s or fire 3 left for Raphael to try to defend the fire cult. And then a priest is going to go on Earth to like ensure second place there.
I was just about to ask,
points.
Does Rafa need his priest for any reason? There's no world here where Nerdcube sends a priest to Earth and Rafa doesn't follow, right? Is there a world where
Nerdcube isn't winning Earth, but Nerdcube is securing second on Earth probably. Like Deep Finesse can't beat Nerdcube on Earth. Is kind of my point there. Yeah, so Deep Finesse forms one of his towns. It is the coin town. He'll need all 3 of his priests, or all 4 of his priests as workers, along with 3 power as a worker. And he'll only have 1 coin left when he forms that last town. Right, because it's 2 workers for the trading post on H7, and then 2 workers for the dig, and then 1 worker for the dwelling.
Right.
So that's all 4 of the priests, plus like right now he has 3 effective power. So we know like the rest of his game.
And then he probably just takes a worker town and has 2 digs. So he's just taking basically like a 9-point town.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds right. But that's quite a lot of points. He has Earth 1 and Water 1. Jekyll doesn't have Water 1 still.
Right. So he has 21 points still coming in, including his town and the final digs on the workers. So that's 132 plus cults and network. 132 at pass before endgame. So and then he's not doing anything else on the cults. He's going to have he's got 12 cult points.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty decent, given how tough the cult competition was this game. Double Temple Nomads with not a lot of incentive to ship. Playing against Orin, they did weird stuff, but they're still Orin. And against Mermaids, who are very, very aggressive on the air cult this game.
Mm-hmm. So Zikob's saying, can Raph sneak this town? Ghostly's response, I think he'll struggle without F2.
F2 refers to Fire 2 in the chat, I think.
I was going to say.
And I think, I don't think it looks good for his chances here. Because he needs both F1 and G1, which is just like, there's only 1 Sandstorm, and his worker count is not great. He's not like advancing his digs or anything, so he's not going to have an easy way to get G1. Well, he can't take Act 5 if he wants the bridge, so it doesn't look great there.
But he doesn't need F1. Like, it's a Sanctuary on D3. I'm not saying he has enough stuff, but like that seems like the line, and then it would be a hard dig on H3.
Yes, but then how's he getting like the structure? Like that's only a 6 power town, right?
Yeah, it super is.
And he doesn't have any more trading posts left.
Yeah. So
Jekyll's final town was the other coin town. Makes a lot of sense. She's fighting hard for network here. She needs another trading post and 2 more dwellings. She clearly has the stuff for that. I guess the question is, does she also have time to make a temple Because if she's done the math and she can make a temple for water 1, and then do 2 trading posts and 2 dwellings, maybe she leaves 1 dwelling on the board or whatever. But
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I haven't done the math, but.
Well, I think she needs, it's 2 hard digs, right? So for a trading post and 2 dwellings, that's 6 workers. And then 2 hard digs.
Ship advance could do it too, right? Like if she ship advances, then she can take H5.
Oh,
no,
course.
D finesse is always taking I-10. Never mind. D finesse is always taking I-10.
Yeah, so it's 2 hard
digs.
digs for 6 workers. 2 dwellings makes 8, and a trading post is 10. So it's 10 workers, which she has, and then it's 7 coins. So literally her workers and her coins are sort of used up with a TP and 2 hard digs and 2 dwellings. And the question is, does she have a temple with the rest of her stuff? And it's like almost with a bit of leak.
Yeah, maybe like advancing her digs right now is actually more efficient because she needs to dig twice, right? Like that might be like a better use of her remaining resources than trying to figure out at the end if like a temple is any good. Because obviously she's on the TP tile, right? So like there's almost no world where making a temple at the end could be correct for her.
Right. Not unless, if she can't get that last TP, it's not worth it. No, you're totally right.
Yeah.
And she is just hard digging, so it isn't a dig advance. It will be interesting to see what she does with her remaining 3 priests, if I have this correct, and 2 coins. And it might just be another ship advance for 4 points.
Yep, ship advances are very efficient, so that would make a lot of sense.
Probably what it is.
She could also just like send one. Could also be like a priest to Earth or something, right? Like right now she's at like a half resource. The priest could convert that to a full resource, and then she could do a ship advance or something.
Makes sense.
Probably, very likely better than a dig upgrade here, simply because that 3rd ship advance is 4 instead of like 2 or 3 points.
So I think Jekyll's around 128 before network, but with cults and pass. So I think Deep Finesse just has this, but
seems like it could be. Like I don't think that Deep Finesse particularly. I guess Deep Finesse's final might actually be a ship town, right? Like we were talking about him taking a worker town, but it might actually be a ship town, which is only 1 point worse, right? It means that because it's 4 + 4, whereas the worker town would have been.
Of course, and that would allow him to beat Oren's network, right? Because Oren hasn't connected.
I guess he's already beaten.
I guess he has already beaten Oren's network, so he doesn't actually need that.
Yeah, he's already beaten Oren's network. Though, no, Nerdkeep's most efficient way to make points right now may just be to advance ship twice. Which he can do. Oh no, he's already used his stronghold action. Never mind.
Yeah, short a coin, no stronghold actions.
Yeah, never mind. There's no more 2-for-1s coming. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Right, so Deep Finesse is just digging down his final dwelling here.
Yeah, it looks like around 124 for Nerdkeep here.
Right.
So yeah, Jekyll and Deep Finesse are clearly ahead of that. It remains to be seen if Raphael is going to hit that. Deep Finesse is saying that he thought that he might be punished for messing up, but it looks like other people just had, too much else to do especially like Oren, right? Yeah. Nerdkeep said he didn't have the time to do the calcs to figure out if he should have been disrupting Deep Finesse on I-10.
Right. And
presumably they're referring to I-10 here.
We do see Deep Finesse taking the ship town as opposed to the worker town, so I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but
this does. I mean, it's only 1 point worse, right? Like it could be a mistake.
Right.
Or actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, Nerdkeep will only end at 8 connected structures, and Deep Finesse already had 9. So yeah, the ship town. It looks like the worker town was 1 point better. Just like Deep Finesse is not beating or contesting network with Nomads or Mermaids, but it's only 1 point worse. If it does come down to that 1 point, then we can wonder, we can second guess him a lot. But
totally. What do you think Deep Finesse is referring to in terms of the mistake? He's saying in chat here, I thought I would be punished for messing up. And then Raph said, me too. Nerdcube saying, didn't have time to do calcs. Probably should have blocked Deep Finesse.
So I'm wondering if they're referring to I-10 there. Nerdcube was ending with 4 power in his final bowl, right?
Right.
He could have dug I-10 to green. And if he did that, then Deep Finesse would have lost his last town.
Right.
That would almost certainly be enough for Jekyll to beat him, like, absolutely, right? Right now, we don't know necessarily who's winning between Jekyll and Deep Finesse, though, I mean, we currently think that Deep Finesse has the edge, but I mean, she's going to have an edge on him in endgame scoring, right? So, though, maybe it'll only be 6 points in endgame, right? Maybe it'll only be the 6 points of network, because Raphael, presumably, is going to get down to 16. She's going to get 15, Deep Finesse at 14, so that's a 6 point edge and network, and cults look kind of even because of that swing on air.
Exactly. Yeah,
in fact,
Jekyll doesn't
Deep Finesse might have more cult points. So.
Yeah, Jekyll doesn't, I don't think, have an edge on
cults 10
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does look like Deep Finesse does have this one.
Yeah. Note to the casters from Ghostly, the punishment was Orin digging I-10, by the way. Awesome. Thanks, Ghostly. Yep.
Yeah. Now, he does say that was like his mess up, but I'm not entirely sure how he was supposed to prevent that. Maybe if he didn't take D6 and he saved D6 for like later, then that was, then he could have like secured I-10 before D6.
Right.
That might have been like the explanation there.
Totally. One interesting piece here is that we did, after all, see Raph just sandstorming F1 and building a dwelling there as opposed to going the sanctuary route. Be interesting to see if Raph is still just building a sanctuary somewhere for, it's 4 points and a favor. Like it's Air 1 here is just 8 points.
It's like 3 or 4 points of resources to take a sanctuary, to build a sanctuary. So like getting 8 points out of it seems correct.
Unless it's he just bought a priest, so I'm not really sure.
No, this is for a ship advance, I think. I think this is exactly enough stuff for Air 1 plus a ship advance.
10, 14. Yep. Yeah, totally. Yep, good call. So it's just a sanctuary for Air 1, a ship advance from Rafa.
And this is a ship advance from Jekyll. As we thought, like the priest did go to Earth.
Right.
High Deep Finesse there.
Yep.
And this is a ship advance. Yep.
Yeah, really interesting game. What are sort of your main takeaways here from initially evaluating the setup and auction and stuff to how things actually broke down? Like, where do you think were the biggest discrepancies between where we thought this game might go and what actually happened here?
Well, I mean, one thing that we didn't consider at the bidding was the fact that Orin was going to threaten mermaids, like, in turn 1, right? Like, Jekyll had to take such an inefficient first move. Like, she's played basically flawlessly this entire game, and yet, like, it's not nearly enough, it looks like, to catch up with Deep Finesse. The only explanation I can give for that is, like, that was just so brutal in turn 1, having to spend a single spade on C3, right? And then, like, that just had so many, like, trickle down effects or whatever. Like, the way that, she had to spend more time building dwellings and trading posts in rounds 2 and 3. She took Air 2. I don't think that she got a single coins action from it. I don't think that she even got a single double spade from it, She got a lot of cult rewards, but, like, she could have gotten even more stuff out of it by having better passing tempo and stuff.
Totally.
But because round 1 was kind of so weak for her, it just had all these trickle-down effects, right? So, like, I think that both of us underestimated how much green and blue would hurt each other in round 1.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And, I mean, I don't think that any of us saw 2 Temple Nomads coming. I think that was a very cool idea, but it does look like they're beating Orin. It does look like it was enough for Raphael to beat Nerdcube here. But Nerdcube is saying that he should have tanked Deep Finesse with him.
Yeah, this was one of those setups.
Honestly, like,
Go ahead, Range.
yeah, honestly, it's not that bad of an idea because Deep Finesse could have been pushed down into. I mean, that town was just like 13 points, right? Like that could have Nerdcube could have pushed Deep Finesse into second, not into third, but into second. Um,
So Nerdcube could have given the game to Jekyll.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Um, I mean, I don't think that Jekyll would have wanted to win like that, but it's a tournament. She would have been, pretty happy to take it. But
Yeah, this was an amazingly like closer game than I actually thought. So Jekyll was 9 points behind Deep Finesse, and then Rafa, although I was concerned about his game for like a lot of the game, he was 7 points shy of Jekyll and ended up beating Orin here. So Rafa did a pretty good job of sort of catching up, and I guess part of it really was like, again he was the one of only two players that had a pass tile and was able to abuse it maximally. Didn't end up winning two cults, but still had okay stuff on cults. And then, of course, took the network victory. And so he really shot up from, I don't know when it was like 50, 60 points. Like, I feel like that wasn't that long ago. And now, once all the end game stuff is calced, he's over 130. So, yeah.
Yep. And, like, we second guessed some of his decisions a lot, right? Like the two temples and, like, the sanctuary, like, not rushing fire too, maybe. But it's unclear that would have gotten him like in any better of a spot, right? Like maybe if he takes fire too, then Deep Finesse is worse off. Deep Finesse only forms two towns. Deep Finesse probably still beats Raphael, and then maybe he opens the door to Nerdcube beating him because Nerdcube instead connects instead of Deep Finesse, right?
Right.
So like I think that like the final round we might have second guessed like Nomad's decisions too much there, given that they did wind up in third instead of fourth.
Right. I keep going back to the opening here because I'm trying to wonder how the game could have broke poorly for Deep Finesse. And I think the thing is that if Rafa takes Worker Power, which I think I probably would have done is 4-seat Nomads, just into it, like I probably just would have grabbed Worker Power, sort of a go-to. Deep Finesse just grabs Temp Ship and still gets Double Dig. So I'm trying to figure out how this doesn't play well for Deep Finesse, and I think it's that Nomads takes the big building, so Deep Finesse grabs Worker Power, but Orin takes a coins action, takes one of the coins or the priest or something like that, and allows Mermaids to take one of the power tiles and Double Dig in round one. I guess then though Halflings still get a spade. I don't know. I guess maybe Deep Finesse had thought about all these possibilities very early on in the setup when we were looking at this. I for some reason sort of thought like, oh, this could break really well for Halflings, or it could break really terribly. But the more I talk about it, I guess it's just like there was always a bit of a backup for Deep Finesse, and I guess that's perhaps what he saw in the auction and why he jumped to them
like
so early.
Yeah, so like let's say that Deep Finesse only gets one spade in round one, right? Because of the way that the game is set up, he could have just single dug G5, and then he would have ended the round with Temple 2 dwellings instead of Temple 3 dwellings. And then maybe he takes like, Earth 2 instead of Earth 1. Like he didn't build like that many dwellings this game. Like an extra worker starting in round one to like compensate for like that lost dig on E5. Like I think that he would have been pretty fine. Like this is like we also like talked about this as like a threat that Nomads could have started on G4, right? But like looking at it, that maybe that wasn't that likely to happen.
Right. I'm in a second we're going to get Deep Finesse to jump into the Discord for a post-game interview. I do apologize. I forgot that that's the thing that we do around here. And I'm really excited to ask him about that, about why he jumped to Halfling so early. Actually, Deep Finesse, do we have you here?
Hello?
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Congratulations on such an amazing game. And folks in chat, let me know if you can't hear Deep Finesse. I'm happy to adjust the volume as needed. Just to jump right into things, Deep Finesse, one thing I wanted to ask you about, we were chatting just before you came on about your opening, trying to get a sense of how things in round one, like things seem to break very well for you in round one. You got Worker Power, you got Double Dig, you even ended up getting Earth 1. Was there sort of a risk there, though? And we were trying to figure that out. Like, was there a way that you were seeing how things could have broken poorly for you based on how the sort of pass tiles broke? Was there sort of like a situation that you were a bit concerned about and keeping an eye on?
Yeah, there was I thought that Nomads might take Worker Power, and then I end with Temp. I take Temp Ship. I still get Double Dig, but I'm Worker short. And I probably have to take Earth and that's definitely not as favorable as the way things went with Rafa going for the double tempo opening with nomads. But I was pretty sure that halflings was going to get double dig, so like I think that's like a very reasonable start for halflings.
Right. And then was the backup there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I suppose there was a chance Orin took the priest, giving mermaids temp ship. Mermaids
I
take.
think it was less likely, yeah, especially with the way that the starting place with the starting placements,
Uh huh.
and Orange starting on C4 instead of E9. And I think also just with the tracks generally, I felt I was pretty confident that like most well probably all four of us were gonna take temp ship with Orange if it like
Right.
had gone that way.
Right. Fair enough. So, what was your sort of game plan going into this game? Like, as you were, bid halflings, you took them up like earlier than other folks, which chat wasn't surprised about. But what was your sort of game plan going into this game, and how did things sort of break differently for you throughout the game?
This it was pretty much the game plan. Like having going 3 towns with a sanctuary town in the middle and 2 towns in the west. And forego connection or probably like connect opportunistically.
Mm,
So that went pretty well until the very end where I went in 2 different directions. I took fire too, but then I also tried to connect, and that was just like pretty terrible. Um, but
right.
yeah, like overall, I think just giving up connection at the end, I still win by a very small margin over mermaids. And that would have been much more comfortable.
So I noticed you in chat mentioning just towards the end that you thought you were going to be punished for your mistake, and we were trying to sort of get a sense of what that
Hmm.
was. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was
Hmm.
leaving I-10 open a little too long. You secured D6 so you could
Hmm.
secure connection, but you could have secured I-10 earlier and not sort of floated that town. Is that what your comment was based on?
Right, right. And like yeah, not really even securing item, but just spending the resources to like sort of connect, but only like connecting to third place anyway. Whereas I should have just like given up connection, and I could have taken like higher scoring towns, and just did 2 of my towns in the east. And that would have I think that would have been enough to win. Alternatively, I could also just go for connection and not take fire two, and then I could probably take well yeah, I just go for connection and not take fire two, so I don't need to spend the resources building the temple and just go for one more town in the east. That's also enough.
Right.
But like going going in 2 directions ended up being like, not going in any direction at all, and the two could have punished me by taking away the blue.
Right. So throughout the game, which of these opponents were you most concerned about? Like as you were watching your opponents' games and sort of seeing how they were developing, like who had the best sort of game and
Hmm.
sort of the early to mid game that you were keeping an eye on the closest?
Um, I'm not sure. I felt like Halflings was in a pretty good position throughout. And then the pass tiles worked out pretty well. I was able to pass on a lot of coins. So I felt like perhaps mermaids just based well yeah I'm not quite sure like it was
Mm,
kind of like it felt pretty close between the three of the other factions, and they all felt like a somewhat of a margin behind halflings.
right. Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mhm.
So deranged. I'm
Yeah, it
hogging
did
all
turn
the.
out that mermaids
Go
It
ahead.
did turn out that mermaids had a lot more resources at the end than I expected, so they were able to push network to, was it 3? They were able to go to like 15, like
Yeah.
3 structures left, 15 network. Yeah, that was a little unexpected. And like if I had done the math properly there, then I would have known to definitely forego connection.
Right. Right. Yeah. That totally makes sense. Um, I'm hogging the airtime. Deranged. Do you have any questions for D Finesse while we've got him on?
Yeah, did anyone else's game go like in a different direction than you expected? Like,
Hmm.
obviously, I think that Double Temple Nomads was probably not like the way that you would have played it, but like, like, is there anyone whose game
Uh,
like didn't go in the direction that you expected, such as like Nomads, and like, how do you think that that affected it?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's game plan like went wildly like in any direction that was unexpected. There are just a couple of like key choices that I'm not even quite sure where I would have swung myself until like I have to make the key decision. But for example, mermaids deciding to dig C3. I think that's what I would have done. I would have been pressed to dig C3 to as mermaids to start, with orange taking temp ship. But I can see that going either way. Like mermaids could definitely dig F2 instead and just strand that dwelling.
Right.
Um, and yeah, uh, and the double tempo opening by nomads, that also felt like th- probably not what I would have done, but I'm also not sure. Like it could definitely be good. Like double tempo does seem a reasonable opening by nomads.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool.
So one more thing was that you decided to take like you were saying that you weren't concerned about anyone specifically, but maybe mermaids, right? Did that play into your decision to take the 8-pointer around early?
Yes, definitely. Like I feel like if mermaids was gonna like start round six with fire two and two 8 pointers, I felt pretty powerful. And yeah, and I felt like the 8 point swing on air was enough to justify the loss of building the 10 round dirty.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
At that point, though, had you
Um,
calculated that you thought it was between you and mermaids, that Jekyll was your closest competition?
Not clearly enough. Like it
Okay.
was it was sort of a vague idea that mermaids seemed closer than the other opponents.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, fair enough. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do the math with like 3 towns incoming, 2 to 3 towns incoming for everyone round six.
totally.
So it was
It is, yeah, it's a lot of towns. It's one thing that I certainly notice in my game that I don't do enough is founding towns early, and taking an 8 pointer, round before paying 5 points to sort of take it always seems like you're paying a lot. But if you think one of your main opponents is mermaids and there's an 8 point swing there, well, then there's certainly points there. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to me when I saw it, but it once we had sort of like unpacked it a bit during the stream, it certainly made sense to both of us.
it did seem likely to put mermaids in an awkward position in the codes,
Mm-hmm.
because then they're like they can't really take the two kita anymore after that. But
Right.
it turns out mermaids beat me by 1 step on both fire and water. So like that did not turn out so great on my part. Like ideally,
Right.
mermaids would be yeah, they just had a lot of leftover priests, and I couldn't do anything to prevent them from like beating me by the minimum number of steps on both fire and water, and I think earth. So that did not turn out that great.
Right. Right. Yeah, coming 1 point behind mermaids on both of those calls. Yeah, I see what you mean. Um, Deranged, any sort of final questions for DFNS while we got him here?
so the chat wants to know: is it ever going to be anyone besides you or NerdCube, like in these post-game interviews?
Ooh.
Ooh, it's a tough one, but well, I thought this week was gonna go more favorably for NerdQ because this is his preferred settings. Um, yeah, but it's tough. It's tough because I feel like we've got the spectrum covered pretty well. Like he's a big proponent of base game vanilla settings, and I'm a proponent of the weirder like fjords with extra scoring, with landscapes, that sort of thing, with expansion factions
Uh-huh.
if people want to do them. Yeah, so it's tough. It's tough to find a tricky spot to dodge our respective
Mm-hmm.
preferred settings.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well,
Makes a lot
very,
of sense.
very cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with after the game, and yeah, congrats on an amazing win. It was a really exciting game to watch and really clean halflings game. Another clean halflings game by UD Finesse. I run into an arena a number of times playing halflings. It seems to be one of your go-tos these days. So it was nice to spend the last couple hours sort of going, reviewing this in detail and seeing how you sort of put it together. So congrats on a great game here.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Deep Finesse, and thanks everyone else for tuning in to this Premier League broadcast. Next Tuesday, catch Premier League again on another Twitch channel. I don't actually know which one, but there's a Discord link in chat, and if you have questions like Stretch did earlier about standings and where I actually go to watch Premier League and all that kind of stuff, check out the TMTL Discord. I bet someone before I end the stream will post the link again to that Discord in chat. Check that out for all the updates. Thanks again, Drange, for coming on and doing this. It's always a pleasure to have you on stream, and it was a lot of fun unpacking this game with you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks once again, everyone. Love having you here. Great folks in chat. Lots of good conversation. Really appreciate all of you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.